sorry about the lives going on and off, but somehow we couldn't manage. So here we are. So Rishad, welcome to my self-care chats, which we're doing today. And please tell the audience a little bit about yourself first, and then go on to telling them about your turnaround once you went to Pondicherry and started working closely with the mother and Sri Aurobindo.
First of all, thank you, Nandini, for inviting me to this. Let's start with gratitude for that. Yeah, so basically, I also want to go back to when I first saw you. And I think we calculated earlier that was 45 years ago in Bombay at that time at the Cricket Club of India or CCI. And you had come with your son Sahil, who was about a year old, babe in your arms, to see your then sister-in-law Minal, who we both know and are in touch with now as well. And I remember not only being struck, by your physical beauty and of course the cuteness of Sahil, but also almost noticing that there was that X factor, that other realm around you that was really special. And then it was really nice to connect with you in the beginning of the year when we went to this book reading together and had a lovely evening. So it's quite interesting that, that I remember that memory very well. And so many years later, there was this connect. So that was quite special. Yeah, so basically, I went to school and college in Bombay. In college, I finished at Commerce College, and I didn't quite know what to do because that was not really my scene. I had done art in school. And so I kind of then went on to London for a year to do a course in cooking at the Cordon Bleu. And then I came back and started catering to private parties. Somewhere during that time, there was, this search for something deeper than just the material life and earning a living in Bombay, which I was striving and struggling to do. I was never really good with making a lot of money. But somehow I, sort of fumbled through the process and didn't take my money from my parents for about 6 years, even though I stayed at home, but I managed all my other expenses. During that time, I explored Vipassana. I found that was beautiful, but maybe not quite for me. I explored going to the Osho ashram and felt the same thing. And then I got very involved in the Bihar School of Yoga with Swami Niranjananda, who gave me Mantra Diksha. Almost going there for a yoga program, which would have been for about 5 months, from October till February or March, when that also couldn't happen. And then that year in May, through a series of events, my cousin actually called me from the United States, and she said she's going to get married in a traditional, she's half Tamilian, to a Tamilian Brahmin from the US, who was commonly known as Tam Bram. And they were going to have this traditional wedding in Chennai, and that she wanted me to be a part of the ceremony as a brother, because she didn't have a brother and I'm her closest cousin. So we all went. I shared the room with mom, and we had a wonderful, wonderful celebration. And then the words that came into my head were, go visit Claire in Pondicherry. And we have an old family friend who lives there called Claire Kachandra. She was married to one of my dear friends, Vittorio Kachandra, who lives in Milan. And she had finally settled in Pondicherry after having left him and done a lot of duty towards her mother in London. And she finally bought a place and came. Anyway, I landed there on 4th of May 2000. And on the 5th morning, I went to the Samadhi of the mother and Sri Aurobindo in Pondicherry. And in the 5th evening, I had a very profound experience with her in my room. And that really was the turning point of everything. She, as you may be aware, was raised in France of Egyptian and Turkish blood. And I had had an obsession with France the years before. I had learned conversational French in Bombay. I had done this course in French food and cooking in London at the Cordon Bleu. So basically, my journey started there. And I was then led to a clinic of alternate medicine, or what's known as complementary medicine, where I learned with a doctor there who was teaching various forms. And then I also learned polarity therapy with a therapist from Iceland, and we worked on a lot of people together. And I had no idea at that time that I would be in this line. I was just open to years into that. I had the opportunity then to move to Pondicherry and buy an apartment there in 2002. And I was there till 2012, where 10 years later, I formally went to the US to do a course in something called myofascial release massage, which is a deep form of massage. And on coming back from the day that I passed those exams and graduated from that course, it was going to be announced that this course in craniosacral biodynamics was starting in January of 2013 in Bombay. And so that was a great opportunity to do this. And my teachers are from Europe and one of the finest teachers in the field. And so I was able to start and finish that course in February 2015. And ironically, both my mother and my brother have systems with the autonomic nervous system, which is what we work with in craniosacral biodynamics. And my mother was diagnosed in 2018 with a Parkinsonian symptom called Shy-Dragger syndrome. It's also known as multiple system atrophy. And so basically, I started working on her every week. I also started balancing my brother out with the yoga that I had learned and giving him yoga and sessions of cranio every week.
Will you tell the audience what your about a little bit about what your brother has?
Yes, so he is a child of special needs. He also has, so he has cerebral palsy and is totally blind. He had no optic nerve damage when he was born, or probably in uterus, basically. And he was discovered at the age of 3 months. And so that's been quite challenging for my mom and all of us to grow up with a child like that. But he's now absolutely beautiful. I think you met him briefly when you were at my
Yes,
place.
I met Rishad's brother and mother, and it's so wonderful to be able to experience the way he takes care of them, the love and the honor and respect that he gives both his mother and his brother. It's really wonderful, Rishad. Bless you. And I do know you have trying times as well where you don't feel so grateful about it. But I do know for the most part he is grateful and he comes from a wonderful space of service. Really bless you. It's people like you who make the world a better place.
Thank you for that,
No,
Nandini.
really, I feel so honored to know you. The day that I met you when Sony took us to the Preach Candy Club, I felt that God, here is somebody who is God's own person. And then we met again for her book reading and we went through a Mad Hatter round and round jalebi run in your car. Basically, I drove him crazy. But we had such a sweet time. He was so gentle and so patient. Wrong turn. It was madness. But you were so gentle and kind. You really honor people. And that's very rare, to honor people the way he does. I feel privileged to know you. I wanted to.
Thank you. And I got the same feeling for you, or we wouldn't be here. It's a lovely, respectful, and fun connect. Yeah. So, it was not easy to come to the point where, as a quite a capable, internationally qualified therapist, I had to give up the possibility of starting a very lucrative and thriving practice,
Yeah.
which I could have. And every time I went to look at a space to rent a room or something in the way would come from the family to say, you have to look after them first. This is your service. This is your priority. So it was a journey to come to that point, to accept the point that I had to come to that point, where I had to accept that I had to give up a sort of outer life of having this wonderful place, perhaps getting a lot of clients from the outside. But I think my duty and my task was to first work on my mother and my brother. And yes, there were times where it was very frustrating, but I've journeyed to the point where I can really, really, truly say that when I'm with them now, I really, really love them and love giving them sessions. And I've seen the difference it's made in their lives, if I may say so myself. I also have my other therapists, my peers, giving them sessions from time to time. so that I get a break and also they get different energy that's been transmitted to them. But it's the same work and it's done them wonders. So that's made a huge difference. I think it's not by chance that I was, ordained to do this work. I was definitely put here so that I could, in some way aid the family. And that is, of course, all the blessings of God and the Mother and Sri Aurobindo that led me to this point. I couldn't be happier with the work that has been chosen for me. And I think for all those who have been lucky to find a work that they truly passionately love, and it may not necessarily be in the line of service, but if it is, of course, it gives it that X factor and makes it all the more wonderful, because you can see that you can touch people's lives after you have been in contact with them, and that's very fulfilling and gratifying.
Bless you. So I want to ask you the changes that you found in your life once you started, and if you can tell the audience in a few sentences what changes you found, as well as what is your mantra for life.
So I think the changes that I found as soon as we started the course, because very shortly we started working on each other as peers in the course in a very in a few months of starting after learning the basics. First of all, on a physiological level, the nervous system is balanced. We have what's known as the sympathetic and parasympathetic. And most of us coming from urban stressed environments are in the state of sympathetic, which is everything that arouses, excites, and makes one literally wired. And parasympathetic is rest, restore, rejuvenate. So just and physically getting that constant state of sort of neuroticism to get down to a level of neutral and being harmony and balanced in itself makes such a difference to all aspects of our being. Something called reorganization happens when one is worked upon, and the systems of the body get back to functioning original matrix. And so I found myself slowly restoring from years of stress. There was a period of detox. There were times when things were settling. There were painful times where I had to work through the pain in the body. Times where things started to reset, which made things uncomfortable in the gut, for example. Slowly, the system restored to becoming something quite different than I was. And I physically could notice the palpable changes from when we first started in 2013 to when I first finished in 2015. And now that it's been exactly 10 years since I've been practicing, I have seen a remarkable difference in myself. My appetite is regulated. Everything basically is in far more harmony, and I can take things and multitask far easier in a far more peaceful and balanced way without getting stressed or anxious. Basically, a huge overall balance to all aspects of the being.
It's wonderful because I want to tell the audience that when you see Rishad in real life, he really glows. That's the first thing that hit me. Oh God, this such a beautiful person. He just glows. So that inner peace and that inner balance shows on the outside as well. It's quite amazing. When I started this self care, the first thing that I thought is I have to ask Rishad if he'll do a conversation with me, because I want everybody to see how when you rebalance, when you recharge, when you spend that time on self care and self love, then what you give out there is that special self care and self love. Some people object, oh, that means you're being very selfish and looking here. But if you don't look here first and clear this junk and garbage, what are you going to offer out there? That junk and garbage. But when you clear this junk and this garbage and balance yourself and love yourself and feed yourself good stuff at all levels, you offer that out to others, right?
Absolutely.
Or do it.
I think it's also a constant journey because one is constantly clearing, as such, the layers of the onion peels. So you never quite reach that point where you feel, which is also wonderfully mildly challenging, but after 10 years of being in it, you notice it and observe it and think, actually, this is not a challenge. It's just a greater opportunity to go deeper in the self so that you can offer a greater service. So the deeper you go within yourself, the greater you can, because I'm very human, and there are times where I can still go off, but the period now between going off and restoring oneself is so short. And so now I know when I'm going off due to some situation that may happen on the outside, but I can get back very easily compared to before. And of course, because of this, things don't bother and rattle me as much as they used to. There are, of course, intense days where I need to be worked on by a peer as well. But I'm so blessed and lucky to have that, you know.
Absolutely. So, what would you be your mantra for life?
I can only say what's worked for me. I don't really like to talk about how people should in any way steer or veer their lives. But mine would be probably to live each day with as much consciousness as possible, to do your work during the day, to eat consciously, whatever diet suits you. To find a movement during the day in the body, which is very important, that suits you. You could veer towards doing anything during the day that would draw you. One day it may be yoga, one day it may be swimming, you may be a sports player. So follow and listen to your body and move it every day. Eat consciously. Of course, conscious thought, be conscious of those thoughts so that you can always veer towards thinking positively. That'll have a remarkable effect on the body as well and the cells. And do your work as best as you can. So I try and make it a more daily thing and an hourly thing so that everything I do is sort of conscious and meditative and, with awareness. Even before I speak, there is a sort of little recap. Should I say this? Should I not say this? Will it be loving? Of course, to find something, I think, that takes you out of yourself is very important. I think that works for me. Something during the day or even during the week, something that takes you out of yourself. Either it could be volunteering with animals or people or a particular person, but something that takes you out and makes you love and give service to some other being, I think makes a remarkable change.
So I do this. I started my self-care and self-love offering recently because I was sitting with somebody for an interview, and she turned around and asked me, "What is it that you want to do?" And I said, "I just want to love people." So I really think that's my mantra for life.
Beautiful.
I just want, and then it transpired and translated into this, what's happening today on my social media pages, and I just turned my pages around into that, an offering. It's like my daily aarti, thanking the Lord that, thank you. So now let me give it out there. And yeah, what you're saying makes so much sense, offering to others as well. And I think that's what you do in your life. So thank you so much, Rishad. It was really lovely having you. And obviously, God meant for this to happen because we tried from yesterday. We tried Instagram Live, zero result. We tried StreamYard, and I've done StreamYard before, but my camera wouldn't come on. We did Facebook Live, a big zero. And now we're here.
Great.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Rishad. Any last words of wisdom or normal or whatever?
No, I would just say live each day as best as you can, and believing that at the end of the day, you can just say, I've had a beautiful day, and thank you, God, for giving me another beautiful one tomorrow.
Beautifully said. Thank you, beautiful person, for saying
Thank you, Nandini. That was lovely.
I love you all. Come back for more.